All right, good afternoon. In close consultations today, the Special Envoy for Yemen, Mr. Martin Griffiths, briefed the Security Council via video conference about the recent alarming military escalations in Yemen. Mr. Griffiths reiterated the importance of stopping the ongoing military escalation before it's too late. He warned that recent developments jeopardize the progress the parties had made on de-escalation and confidence building. Meanwhile, UNICEF's representative in Yemen welcomed the release today in Sana'a by the Ansar Allah of 64 children allegedly captured during military operations. UNICEF hopes that this step also leads to the signing by the Ansar Allah of the action plan to end the recruitment and use of children in conflict in Yemen. On the coronavirus, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, is in Beijing, as you know, where today he met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. They shared the latest information on the coronavirus and reiterated their commitment to bring it under control. Dr. Tedros also met with the Foreign Minister and the Ministry of Health. Talks with China's National Health Commission focused on continued collaboration and containment measures in Wuhan, public health measures in other cities and provinces, conducting further studies on the severity and transmissibility of the virus, continuing to share data for China to share biological material with the WHO. WHO will send international experts to visit China as soon as possible to work with their Chinese counterparts on increasing understanding of the outbreak to guide the global response effort. Mr. Tedros stressed that WHO's highest priority is stopping the spread of this virus both in China and globally. He expressed his appreciation for how China is taking this outbreak, especially the commitment from top leadership and transparency they've demonstrated, including sharing data and genetic sequence of the virus. Dr. Tedros noted that the World Health Organization is working closely with the government on the measures to understand the virus and to limit transmission. WHO will keep working side by side with China and all other countries to protect health and keep people safe. And Jan Kubish, the UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon, met today in Beirut with the Lebanese Foreign Minister, Nassif Hitti. He said afterward that he had brought with him to the Foreign Minister's attention the Secretary General's statement following the announcement of the formation of the government, including how important it is to listen to the voices of the people and to try to address their pressing needs. Mr. Kubish also stressed how important it is to follow on the basic obligation of Lebanon related to the respective resolutions of the Security Council, including with regard to the disassociation policy and related issues. And a report published today by the United Nations in Iraq on the trials conducted under Iraq's anti-terrorism law recognizes a considerable effort taken to ensure accountability for the atrocities committed by Daesh fighters and also raises serious concerns about unfair trials placing defendants at serious disadvantage. The joint report by the UN Assistance Mission in Iraq and the UN Human Rights Office acknowledged that judicial proceedings against Daesh defendants were originally conducted in an orderly manner, were well organized, and judges were routinely prepared with investigation files. But it also found that violations of fair trial standards placed defendants at serious disadvantage compared to the prosecution, with ineffective legal representation and limited possibilities to present or challenge evidence. The humanitarian situation in Mali continues to deteriorate due to increased violence. Over 200,000 people are currently displaced compared to 80,000 people a year ago. During this year's lean season, from June to August, 1.1 million people are expected to face severe food insecurity in the country. Humanitarian access challenges have significantly increased. However, access remains possible for humanitarian organizations who rely on community engagements, principal delivery of aid, and the use of local implementing partners to reach people in need. This year's humanitarian response plan for Mali will reach 20% of the country's population, 3.8 million people, and will require 390 million. To flag that in Brazil, the UN is in touch with the government and is ready to provide support in light of the intense rains over the past days. the rains have caused floods and mudslides and the destruction of infrastructure in many cities. The Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that as of yesterday, 56 people have reportedly been killed and at least 29,000 people were evacuated to shelters or safe areas from the most affected states of Rio de Janeiro and Minas Gerais. And the Secretary General has also written to convey his condolences to the government and the people. The UN Migration Agency said today that at least 810 people died last year while crossing deserts, rivers, and remote terrain on different migration routes across the Americas, making the year one of the deadliest on record. This is the highest number of deaths documented in this region since the agency began keeping records 6 years ago. Most deaths were recorded in the waters of the Rio Bravo, Rio Grande, where 109 people lost their lives in 2019, a 26% increase from 86 deaths recorded in 2018. And lastly, we welcome 2 new contributors and members of the honor roll. That is Hungary and Sweden, which brings us up to 29. We hope to break the 30 mark before the end of the month. Habibti, Madame.
So on Libya, do you have any updates regarding any meetings or ceasefire or the 5+5 meeting?
Yes, the preparations for those meetings are continuing, and we do hope that they will occur in the coming days.
So you mean the preparation for the 5+5, or which exactly?
Yes, those are the political meetings. We hope those will happen in the coming days. Yes, Edie.
What about the 5+5 military meeting that was supposed to work on a ceasefire?
As I said, those preparations are continuing, and we hope that will happen in the coming days.
That was supposed to happen today.
I know.
And can you tell us tomorrow about Mr. Salame? Is he coming here, or is he
No, he will not.
by
He will not be here. I think he'll be briefing by. He will not be.
Video.
There are no immediate plans for him to come to New York. Mr. Bays.
We are imminently waiting the White House's release of its deal of the century Middle East peace plan. Just an update on yesterday. In the time between yesterday's briefing and now, given the importance of this and the Secretary General's pivotal role, was an advance copy shared with the Secretary General?
No, I'm not aware of an advance copy having been shared. What I do know is that over the past months, there have been various discussions with Mr. Mladenov and the Secretary General himself and people following the Middle East at different levels with the U.S. government, but I'm not aware of any advance copy having been shared.
And with regard to settlements in the West Bank, Israeli media reporting that all settlements under this plan will be annexed by Israel. I know you can't comment on a plan that you haven't seen yet, but you perhaps can reiterate for us the UN's position on settlements.
It's reiterated regularly in Security Council.
But it would be
briefings.
nice if you could restate it at the podium.
It's all reiterated, and we will have a reaction to the peace plan in a couple of hours. We're waiting, obviously, for the.
So will you do another briefing?
We'll see. We'll probably issue a statement. Yes, Madam.
Thanks, Stéphane. Just following up, President Trump proposes to have a Palestinian state capital in the East Jerusalem. Is the United Nations in the loop of any plans to try to broker any negotiations? We know that the Palestinian Authority has said that they were not included.
Listen, we have to wait in order to react to the plan, we have to wait. But what is clear is that the UN's position will continue to be bound and is bound by relevant Security Council, General Assembly resolutions, whether it's on settlements, whether it's on the final status of Jerusalem, which we have said in the past is an issue that is a final status and needs to be negotiated between the parties. Madame.
On the refugees, on the Palestinian refugees in the region, do you have any update on that?
Listen, we have to wait to see what is announced. But the position of the Secretary General, as outlined in many Security Council briefings and other fora, remains unchanged and will not change and continues to be bound by resolutions of the Security Council and the General Assembly. All right. That was fun.